Hello and welcome to the Bible Made Easy for Kids reading. Today is day 34 of the reading. It is day 33 of Lent, and we are going to be starting on page Jesus visits Zecchaeus. And Jesus passed through the town of Jericho. Many people lined the street to see him. There was a man named Zecchaeus who also wanted to see Jesus, but he was a short man and couldn't see past the crowd. So he ran ahead and climbed into a tree, for Jesus was going to pass that way. Now Zacchaeus was in charge of tax collectors in Jericho. He had become rich by making people pay more tax than they were supposed to, and keeping the extra money for himself. When Jesus reached the spot where Zacchaeus was, he looked up and said to him, Zacchaeus, hurry up and come down, for I must stay at your house today. So Zacchaeus quickly climbed down and, with great excitement, took Jesus to his house. But others standing around were not pleased and grumbled, He has gone to be the guest of a man who is a big sinner. Meanwhile, Zacchaeus said to Jesus, Right here and now I will give half of what I owe to the poor, and I have cheated people on their taxes. I will give them back 4 times as much. Jesus said to him, Salvation has come to this home today, for the Son of Man can seek and save those who are lost. Mary anoints Jesus. 6 days before the Passover celebration, Jesus arrived in Bethany, a town not far from the people of Jerusalem. This is where Mary and Martha lived, and Lazarus, whom he had raised from the dead. A dinner was prepared. Martha served the meal, while Lazarus was with Jesus at the table. Mary went and got a jar of expensive perfume, which she poured on Jesus' feet. The whole house was filled with the pleasant smell of the perfume. Then Mary wiped Jesus' feet with her hair. But Judas, one of the disciples, said, This perfume could have been sold, and the money given to the poor. He did not actually care about the poor, and often took money for himself from the disciples' money bag. Leave her alone, Jesus said. She has done this to prepare my body for burial. You will always have the poor among you, but you will not always have me. Let me tell you this for a fact. Wherever the good news is preached, all over the world, what this woman has done will be told in memory of her. How can I worship Jesus like Mary did? Do you wish you could do something like Mary did to show how much you love Jesus? Jesus told his disciples that he would not be around, and now Jesus is in heaven. Worshipping Jesus by telling him how wonderful he is just like that sweet perfume. Our prayers of faith and love are like sweet smelling incense rising up to heaven, kept in golden bowls. Jesus rides into Jerusalem. Sorry. As Jesus and his disciples were going to Jerusalem and were near the mountain of Olives, he sent 2 of his disciples on ahead, saying, Go into the village over there, and as you enter it, you will find a young donkey there that no one has ever ridden. Untie it and bring it here. If someone asks you, Why are you untying that colt? Just say, The Lord needs it. So the 2 disciples went ahead and found the colt as Jesus had said. And sure enough, they untied it. As they untied it, the owners asked them, Why are you untying the colt? The disciples replied, The Lord needs it. So they brought the donkey to Jesus and threw their coats over over it for him to ride. Threw their coats over it for him to ride on. As he rode along to Jerusalem, people spread their coats on the road in front of him. Others cut palm branches and spread them on the road. When they came to the place where the roads go down the Mount of Olives, his followers began shouting and singing, and they praised God for all the miracles they had seen. They shouted, "Blessed is the King who comes in the name of the Lord. Peace in heaven and glory is the highest." In the highest. Sorry. But some Pharisees in the crowd said to Jesus, "Teacher, tell your followers to be quiet." Then Jesus said to them, "If they keep quiet, the stones along the road will shout out." As Jesus came near to Jerusalem, he began to weep, and said, "If you had only known today that we could have brought you peace, but now it is too late, and peace is hidden so you cannot see it." At the temple, Jesus chases out money changers. Jesus went up to the temple in Jerusalem. When he came to the temple courtyard, when he came to the temple courtyard, he chased out those who were buying and selling animals for sacrifices. He knocked over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those who sold doves. He said to them, "It is written, 'My house will be called the house of prayer,' but you have turned it into a den of thieves." Jesus heals many. The blind and the lame came to him at the temple, and he healed them. When the chief priests and teachers of the law saw the wonderful miracles Jesus did, and heard the children shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they were angry. They asked Jesus, "Do you hear what the children are saying?" "Yes," Jesus replied. "Have you ever read the scriptures where it says, 'From the lips of children and infants you brought praise to yourself'?" Then Jesus left them and went back to Bethany, where he spent the night. Jesus notices the widow's offering. Sometime later, when Jesus was back at the temple, he noticed some rich people dropping their gifts into the collection box. Then he saw a poor widow drop in two copper coins. Jesus called his disciples together and said to them, "Believe me when I tell you, this poor widow has put in more than all the others. All these people put in just a small part of their money all a small part of all the money that they have. But she, poor as she is, has given all she had to live on." The Passover meal. The day came when the Jewish people celebrated the Passover. The celebration reminded them of the night God rescued them as a nation from slavery in Egypt. Jesus sent Peter and John to prepare the Passover meal. "Where do you want us to prepare it?" they asked him. He told them, "As you get into the city of Jerusalem, a man carrying a jar of water will meet you. Follow him to the house he enters and say to the owner, 'The teacher asks, where is the guest room where I can eat the Passover meal with my disciples?' He will take you upstairs to a large room. That is where you can prepare the meal." The two disciples went on their way and found things just as Jesus had told them. When the time came for them to celebrate the Passover meal, Jesus and his 12 disciples gathered around the table in the upstairs room. Then Jesus got up from the table and wrapped a towel around his waist. He poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet. When Jesus came to Peter, Peter said to him, "Lord, are you going to wash my feet?" Jesus replied, "You don't understand what I am doing, but someday you will." "No," Peter said, "you will never wash my feet." Thursday evening. It was a Thursday. Thursday evening again. Oh, it's Thursday evening. The 2 pages after the last page we're going to read today are Thursday evening. But Jesus replied, "Unless I wash you, you won't belong to me." Peter exclaimed, "Then wash my hands and my head as well, Lord, not just my feet." Jesus replied, "A person who has a bath needs only to wash his feet. The whole body is clean, and you are clean, but not all of you are clean." Jesus said this because he knew that Judas, one of the disciples, would betray him. Then Jesus returned to his place at the table and asked the disciples, "Do you understand what I have done for you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. Now that I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you should also wash each other's feet." Sorry. When Jesus had given thanks for the meal, he broke the bread into pieces and gave the pieces to the disciples, saying, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this to remember me." After supper, Jesus took a cup of wine and said, "This cup is the new covenant between God and his people. It is an agreement sealed with my blood, which is poured out as a sacrifice for you." Thank you all so much for listening to my part of the reading. And my sister has one Bible verse, two. One Bible verse for you guys today. But she we're gonna give her some time so she can get more than one Bible verse in. Until then, just relax.
Today's Bible verse is only 1:7. But today's Bible verse is fix your thoughts on what is true and horrible and right and pure.
Well, I have a feeling that horrible wasn't the right word.
Horrible.
Honorable.
Honorable. Fix your thoughts on what is true and honorable and right and
Pure
and lovely and
admirable.
and admirable. And admirable. Think about things that are excellent and worthy of praise. Philippians 4:8. Philippians 4:8.
Okay, get your swim stuff.
Matthew,
Yes?
is that camera on?
Yes.
No.